What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys, and today I am talking about the latest offering from Norwegian melodic death metalers Deception with DAENACTEH. I probably butchered that, but that's the best I'm going to get it. This also came out on March 22nd, this time on Mighty Music, and this is the band's fourth album overall, and well, this is the first time I've ever checked this band out, and pretty much the big reason I decided to check it out is because, well, one of the members, Sindre Johnson, is the current frontman in Blood Red Throne, which, of course, you guys know how much I love that band and how a couple of members are good friends of mine now. So I wanted to check out this band, considering Sindre, being the new guy in Blood Red Throne, being the frontman. I saw that he had this band where he plays lead guitar and does the lead vocals. And I was kind of surprised as to how diverse that this album or this band really is. So, yeah, like I said, this is a Norwegian melodic death metal band, but with some symphonic metal touches, as well as even moments of traditional death metal, and dare I say, even black metal at times. And you kind of get that right off the gate with the shortest song of the album, Sulphur Clouds, which is just a little over 3 minutes. You get low-end tremolos and triplet chugs that feel very much like Blood Red Throne right out of the gate, but with those symphonic elements on top. And pretty much throughout this entire album, you're going to get the symphonic aspect right on top of the music that you are getting when it comes down to the death metal that's on here. But yeah, it opens up very much almost more like old school death metal with that Blood Red Throne feel, with the grooves, the chugs, the thrashiness, and nasty riffs on top of blast beats. But then you move into a track like King of Salvation, where the riffs and the rhythms start to be a little more driving, almost thrashy, and there's even little atonal riffs that kind of get peppered in here and there, but keeping the groove alive, and even some really cool hammer-on play with the guitars. Like Sindre, I knew he was a really damn good bassist, considering he filled in for my buddy Gunnar from Blood Red Throne on bass during their recent tour cycle when Gunnar was diagnosed with leukemia. But now that he's back, Sindre can just focus on being the frontman. But of course, he does play guitar, bass, and such, and yeah, he's able to show some damn good guitar chops, whether it be in the riffs or the leads. And then we get to Iblis Mistress. It starts off with a horror movie piano, almost like something you would hear in, say, a movie like Scream or maybe even The Shining. It almost kind of has that kind of feel before it gets into a chugging riff, but with a faint tremolo progression in the background, but on top of a groove. And dare I say, the atmosphere on this track gets far more sinister, and then it gallops along almost like in a big stampede is being unleashed. And then even some black metal touches kind of come in towards the end. Assailants. Now, the next two tracks, actually the next three tracks, kind of start off similar. They all deal with dissonant melodies. Here in this case with Assailants, reminded me right away of Mastodon. Like the dissonance that pops up on this track, as well as even the song Darian, those two dissonant melodies that pop up, again, feel more Mastodon as opposed to a band like Immolation. But here with Assailants, afterwards it gets more into the driving riffs again, but then it does get a bit doomy at times on this track, which is really cool. And then even some killer riffs and grooves at the end. But then we get to Monophobic, where the dissonant melody that comes in here feels closer to Opeth, and then it even gets into a nice triplet chug, and then it turns into a triplet swing with riffs that feel like classic Opeth. And that one kind of caught me by surprise. It's I wasn't expecting to hear something close to Opeth on an album like this. And then when it gets into this big epic section, it feels like the band Beelzebubs, where it just gets more blasty, but with epic riffs, and it feels closer again to more blackened death metal, I would argue. But then, starting with this track, you finally get some guitar solos. So pretty much in the back half, like in the first half of the album, you don't really get any true blues solos. Like, you get some, like, melody lines, but starting with Monophobic, you get more or less more guitar solos that are defined, and Sinre's guitar chops are on full display with these leads. Like, he's able to do all sorts of things, not only on this track, but on the rest of the back half, where he showcases tapping ability, sweep picking, some cool, tasteful melodic flair, and shred like a thrash band would have. But with Darian, has this like off-time riff, but with a touch of that Mastodon dissonance to kind of give it, dare I say, a progressive feel. Well, then again, this was the second longest track of the album. It almost was at 8 minutes. And then there's even with the symphonic stuff and acoustic guitars, dare I say, it gives it a bit of a Middle Eastern folk feel, which was really cool. But then you get some chugger riffs, and then to the track Be Headed on Your Way. This one kind of more or less has more black metal touches here and there, like cool melody lines before it gets into a galloping rhythm, high-end tremolos and blasts, and then it gets thrashy again. But then the closer, Daughters of the Desert, which is a little over 10.5 minutes. This song, you could argue, is more of a progressive melodic death metal song, because it starts off very much proggy with clean guitars, a great bass line, and off-time rhythms. And then it just comes out swinging with more tremolos and blasts and chugging riffs on top of the blasts. And then you get back to the Blood Red Throne groove and riffs. And I'm like, hell yes, give me some of that old school death metalness right here. And then you get some more dark, clean guitars. And then it gets straight into a section that felt like pure black metal, like the tremolos, the blast beats, felt like something I would have heard on, say, like an Enslaved album, I would say. And then killer leads once again, and then I like the way the song ends after a quick little moment with the symphonics. You get this like marching riff and rhythm with the strings on top to feel like the final battle of a big action movie of sorts. Now, production-wise, this is where I kind of ran into a bit of an issue with this album, because I feel the production and the mix was kind of uneven at times, especially going from the first half, where I felt like the symphonic elements overpowered the heaviness too much on the first half of the album, where it's like the guitars were way the fuck back in the mix while the strings were really up front, along with the drums and the vocals, where the guitars and the bass took a back seat. But it gets better as the album progresses, where the guitars get more chunkified and more crunchy in the second half, and the symphonics start to kind of taper a little bit back behind the mix, or go along with the guitars. So I feel like the way the mix was kind of uneven throughout the album, and on top of that, whenever the symphonic aspects come in, it just overpowered the guitars too much, and that was kind of a big problem I had with this album. It's like, I don't mind symphonics and metal, I am a fan of it when done right, but if it's overpowering the guitars, it kind of takes you out of the songs here and there. But the songs themselves, like, there's not a bad track on here. Like, every song was killer. It's just whenever those symphonic aspects kind of overtake everything, it can kind of suffocate the song a little bit. But thankfully, it gets somewhat corrected in the second half of the album, which makes me wonder what happened in the mixes on the first 4 tracks. But overall, this was a pretty damn good presentation here. For my first time checking this band out, I was impressed. I am going to give this a 3.5. This is a really solid listen. Like I said, every song was great. It's just, again, production gaffes kind of took this album away, or kind of took some points off of this album, because I want to hear the guitars come out more on all of these songs. Thankfully, they do come out more in the second half, but I just wish it could have been on the entire album. But if you're a fan of Blood Red Throne, I would say Hypocrisy, Septic Flesh, or even Winter Sun, definitely check this out. There's going to be elements of all those bands across the board on this one. But of course, those are just my thoughts. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.